It's green. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is April 4th, 2024, and it is 6:30 on the dot. So we will do roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos, Matthew McGovern,
Here.
Nick Styler,
Here.
Mike McLeod,
Here.
and Sam Clinton.
Here.
Okay, if you would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And please remain standing for the invocation. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful little city of Martindale. And Lord God, as we are attempting to govern, we just ask for your guidance and your wisdom and your discernment. And Lord God, we do thank you for your gift of salvation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we'll start with public comments. Mary Beth is first.
Okay, first of all, thanks to the city for mowing Bates Park. It's wonderful. We went down last week before it got mowed and the grass was that tall. Also for allowing free parking that day also in the park. Now this other Saturday, is Kite Day, and it's from 1 to 3 in Bates Park. And in case of rain, we're hoping it doesn't rain, is the next Saturday, April 13th, there's a 10% chance of rain, just letting you know. We'll have kites, stop rockets, frisbees, bubbles, and Mentos and Coke, things that go in the air. Okay, then on Monday, next Monday, we'll have an eclipse watching party. There is a 30% chance of rain, and it depends on which meteorologist you listen to. That 30% may happen later in the day after the eclipse is over. Here in Martindale, we'll have 99.8% coverage. It won't be complete solar eclipse, but it'll be a lot. And so you don't have to go anywhere. And the library has free eclipse classes. And starting at 11:30, our librarian has activities for children, starting at 11:30, and we'll be up to 3. Anyway, some of the activities are okay for adults too. Okay, the eclipse begins approximately about 12:15, maximum about 1:35, and then it ends about 3 p.m. So anyway, right around the 1 to 1:30, 1:40 times is that best time of year. And I've been through one of these. It's so weird. The sky darkens, the temperature drops, and animals act like it's nighttime. You hear crickets chirping, birds flying through the grass. It's strange. And now the next eclipse that'll be visible in Central Texas is going to be 300 years. So this is a big deal. And the ancient Chinese thought that this was from a dragon that ate the sun. That's not what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Terry Warner.
I just wanted to tell everybody about a meet and greet that I'm gonna do. I'm running for city council for place 1. I live in Hobson Ranch, and we're gonna have a meet and greet at 2 to 4 on the 7th, which is actually Sunday, this Sunday coming up. I just wanted to let you guys know about it because I'm new to city council, so I just kind of wanted to hear what citizens thought were the important issues and what kind of things need to be fixed, what kind of things are working, just ideas on things that need to happen. So anyway, just thought I'd let you guys know.
And where?
Oh, where is important? The Hobson Ranch has a daycare. It's called Little Bridges, and we're gonna do it in the daycare. So it's just right as you come off Highway 80, right there on the right. So
Thank
All right.
you.
So this Sunday, right?
yes,
Okay, I did want to announce that I'm having a 4th of July planning meeting tomorrow at 2:00. So if somebody didn't get an email and you would like to come to help plan the parade on the 4th of July, tomorrow at 2:00.
So that's the.
Here?
Yes, we're here, yeah.
Yeah, good idea. How bad? Safety first.
At 2:00?
Yeah. So we do have two proclamations. The Hayes County Women's Center has asked that we do this, and we did this last year. The first one is on sexual assault awareness and prevention for the month of April, but for always. So I'll go ahead and read it. It's whereas 6.3 million Texans have experienced some form of sexual assault in their lifetime. And whereas 2 in 5 women and 1 in 5 men in Texas have been sexually assaulted in their lifetime, affecting all races, ages, genders, and economic situations. And whereas the Hayes Caldwell Women's Center provided direct services to 616 adult victims of sexual assault in Hayes and Caldwell counties last year. And whereas the city of Martindale is intolerant of sexual violence in any form and recognizes that education and awareness may prevent sexual assault. And whereas efforts to reduce sexual assault can only be successful through citizen involvement, and the safety of the citizens of the city of Martindale depends upon our actions to end sexual assault. Therefore, I, Catherine Glaze, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Martindale, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. And then the second one is Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness. And I'll go ahead and read that one. Whereas more than 63,989 cases of child abuse and neglect were confirmed in Texas in 2023, resulting in 9,962 children in foster care in Texas, and the death of 173 children in Texas in 2023. And whereas 286 children were confirmed victims of abuse in Hayes County in 2023. And whereas child abuse prevention is a community responsibility and finding solutions depends on involving all people. Whereas locally, representatives from the Caldwell County Child Welfare Board, Caldwell County District Attorney's Office, Hayes Caldwell Women's Center, and Roxanne's House, Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, court-appointed special advocates, which is called CASA, Lockhart, Luling, and Martindale Police Departments, Caldwell County Sheriff's Office, and the Christus Santa Rosa have joined forces to provide preventative and supportive services to child victims and their families. Whereas every child in Martindale deserves to be safe, nurtured, and supported in caring relationships. And therefore, I, Catherine Glaze, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Martindale, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. And today we have with us Lena, and Ashley to accept these proclamations. So if you would like to come forward.
Thank you.
So thank you
And
very
it's
much.
Linda, right?
Yes,
Linda, I'm sorry.
Nice to meet you, Linda.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are
Yeah.
welcome. So- All right. And if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to, but if you have other duties to do, and you leave, won't offend us.
But can they say something if they'd like to?
Oh,
Because-
yes.
Yeah.
Is there something you would like to say?
So we're with the Hayes Couple Women's Center. My name is Ashley Rios. I'm the program director at Roxanne's House, and we serve children, teens, adults who experienced abuse or assault in our counties. All of our services are free, confidential, and yeah, we're here to serve the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a representative from CASA, which is Court Appointed Special Advocate, and Nicole Douglas. And I'd also like to express our appreciation to council and thank you for all of its continued support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this? Okay. Did you want to?
We're with Greater San Marcos Youth Council, the children's shelter in San Marcos. So we appreciate this proclamation as well. Thank you. We accept children from ages 2 to 17 who have been victims of assault or abuse or just neglect in general. And we deal with kind of getting them back into a healthy state of mind and a healthy relationship with people. And it varies from anything with just like healthy relationships with food, healthy relationships with body image, just a lot of things that we kind of deal with on a daily basis. But we do appreciate that because their stories, when we're reading their affidavits, is hard to read sometimes. But we just love them where they're at and just help them while we have them and kind of show them their importance and their value to our community and our society. So thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate your work. We do appreciate all your work, so thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the wastewater. Oh, no, I'm sorry, city administrator has a.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's in the deck or not, but a while back, city council passed an ordinance related to no through traffic on Quail Run coming off of Highway 80. It took some time to work with TxDOT to get them to understand what it was that we passed. That was pretty clear. At one point, they thought we needed to do a whole truck route, which was going to be pretty extensive. Luckily, they came back in the last week or two and said, don't worry about it. We figured out. Sorry for our confusion. We'll have the signs posted shortly. So TxDOT's buying the signs, we'll put them out there, and I believe they've already sent it to their purchasing person. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll see those hit the Highway 80 and I'm not sure about Skull Bridge, how that's going to work on Skull Bridge.
So there's only one road, no through truck traffic, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are they gonna go? Yeah, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I said that'll really help, because that road's getting torn up by those trucks, so that's great. Good job.
This one, either direction coming on Highway 80 will
Just takes time.
But are they gonna put one all the way down on Skull on 621?
That's the one thing I need to follow up with. Hayden
Yeah.
on, whether that's
Cause there was,
that's going to be their placement or ours. We can place one there ourselves.
yeah, cause there was a
We
big,
could- we
big
can
one
place
yesterday.
one
when
On
I was
on TxDOT road, but we can place one.
Do we have to get with the county on that, on the other side of that? That's just our.
We probably could, like on the other side of the bridge in Weld County, we would let them know. Yeah.
So then, does that mean if they're on 80 that they can get at 1984 there where the stoplight is and then go down Northwest Road if they have to?
Yeah.
And then go down to wherever.
Yeah, there was a big semi came across Skull yesterday and he was cutting through. You know, he should be on 110, you know, I mean, he's not, you know, the whole goal is to tell them they stop taking this road. There's 110 available. Get over on the right road. You can handle the weight.
Okay.
Hey, Tommy, what would that fine be? Do you know off the top of your head? What
Be
would
up to the course of
of the
900 separate traffic citation. City ordinance violation.
Okay.
Jared, I would like to mention that I also think it's very important for the city to consider what's going on with the county as far as there's going to be a road construction that they've just done the land width with the county, that the road is going to end up meeting right there with Quail Run. There's the development that's going in that's right there. So hopefully the city is already like kind of doing research and keeping up with the county as far as what's going on and what's to come. Because like, that's what's going on and that's really like in the future. You need to look at the development that's happening there and the road that they're considering that's gonna meet Quail Run.
That's
Yeah, when we actually talked about that a little bit. Myself, Adrian, and I think a couple of our river advisory members, a council member, or a couple council members were able to attend a regional hazard mitigation plan tabletop exercise. And one of the things we talked about was needing to redo that Skull Bridge, given the development that's happening north at Highway 80 and the traffic that could be coming across from North Highway 80 across Skull Bridge into Guadalupe County, and straightening out, replacing that bridge eventually is as a planning factor. Obviously, there's no tabletop exercise, there's no grant we're putting in for it yet, but we're aware of it and it's being considered. Also something I'll probably end up with our comprehensive plan, which we'll hear more about tonight.
Yeah, but like the discussions as far as that are going on with the county right now with the annexations of the land, and then they were gonna do the road in another place, and now they're doing it where it'll meet right there with Quill.
And then move the right of way closer to the edge of the property line where Lanzola backs up.
Yes.
They were moving it, it's like 100 feet,
Mhm.
200 feet. They haven't moved it a lot.
I don't know the exact,
The map the guy sent had the yellow line, had the old line, and he moved it, now it's straight. Because the goal, like you're alluding to, is they want to come all the way to 142 with that road. That's what you're getting at, right?
To Quill Run.
Yeah. Right now, it's still a dirt road, but still something.
Yeah.
Something will be soon.
That's what we talked about, that's why we got ahead of that, with there's no food truck traffic. I think in one of the council meetings, that's why we voted on that, or y'all voted on that, because we brought that up. That's why their tech dots all prepared with that, that's why they did that intersection, did all that,
The blinking lights,
infrastructure,
yeah.
that intersection.
So they have the lights ready.
Okay. All right, we'll go on to the wastewater.
Oh, Pete, let us know what's going on.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Okay.
Just, want to say that we had no issues with the pump stations. Pretty quiet.
Yay.
And, we did the normal stuff, we didn't irrigate, this month, we just did some recirculation, kind of control the pH. And there, and we collected the monthly sample, and we checked the pH daily. The pHs are pretty steady and balanced. It's kind of good.
Man, new form, we got a new form there.
Yeah, it's a new format.
That's good.
That's my son, he does that on, I don't know how he does it on telephone.
Good job. It worked. There you go.
Yeah, and, we check all the wiring and the control panels and stuff, and, we have about 50 feet of a free board. The pumps. And also, we, had one sewer stop, at 107 Plain Street. That was on the customer side. Got to take care of that. And we had another one, I think on 707 Crockett Street at the end of the street. And that one, it was ours in there, so we cleared our side, cleared theirs. So there was a happy ending with that, so everything was done with that.
What about the apartments?
Really, they've been pretty quiet there ever since we held that mayor.
Oh, good. So it's,
I think it helped out.
oh, great. Good. That's good. Thank you.
And, also, we pumped, 1,099,275 gallons this month. And we averaged between about 37,106 gallons. And the lead flow was 143,100. And the minimum was 19,000.
We didn't get that. We didn't get it.
Y'all have anything else from me or questions?
Well, that's great news about the apartments. That's great. Keep it up.
Sometimes we gotta do that.
It's good.
How's the mowing look in the fields
The
around?
mayor's been pretty on top of that. They're doing a good job out there. They removed some trees that need to be cut and stuff. There's a lot, some is getting in the back. I think I later time to try to get control of this. Irrigation. But other than that, it's all I got. Jared, got anything?
Only other thing we're working on is, potentially jutting out and cleaning our sewer lines. The actual cost of jutting out the lines and cleaning them out is not that high, we're working on getting estimates for what it's going to cost in terms of water, from Water Supply Corporation, and also for Vector trucks, because all the stuck stuff going down the pipes are going to hit our lift stations. So probably good practice to have a Vector truck there sucking it up before it hits our pumps. So that there's a significant cost. So at least it has been in the past when we use Vector trucks in emergency situations. So we're trying to come, before we go to council with that project, we want to have the full scope of costs to you in probably the next month or so.
When's the last time that was done?
During COVID.
Not that,
During COVID.
So 4 years ago?
Yeah.
3-4 years ago? Yeah, it's supposed to be done every couple of years.
About a year,
Huh?
every year.
It's supposed to be done.
one of the things we're talking about is whether, if we're going through and jetting them out, we want to do an inspection of the pipes themselves while they're clean.
Yep.
But there's an added cost there. So we're weighing what that's all needs to be.
You stay on top of it.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
You just gotta stay on top of it.
All right, Dave?
Yeah, what I usually do, we did all the lines out and capture all the trash and debris in the lift stations, and they come in the next day, suck everything out. Like Jared said, to keep the pumps clean.
Preventative maintenance.
That's true. Never heard them, but
All right.
appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you, Pete. Okay, I'm gonna take this out of order, if you don't mind, to go to 3.2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because we have quite a few people from Langford here, so we're gonna do 3.2 first. So this will be the first public meeting introducing key stakeholders, timeline, engagements for the proposed master plan. And we have 3 people here talking for Langford, and we have a. Okay, that's you.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here in Martindale. It was a little touch and go this morning. We had a situation at the office where for over 2 years, I've never seen much traffic, and it was 2 lanes in all direction, in both directions, no, 4 directions, coming at us gridlock. No one was moving. Everyone in the office was about 45 minutes late calling. And we thought, is this what they mean by gridlock for the eclipse? And so we still don't, there was no accident reported. We don't know exactly what it was, other than possibly them moving into town to see the eclipse. So, but we made it tonight, and if there's so much traffic we can't get home, we're gonna turn around to Jared's. So, we may have to call you. Didn't look too bad coming in, though. So I'm Jerry Conrado with Langford Community Management Services, and I am your team manager and community engagement leader for the comprehensive plan. The GLO, which is the General Land Office, allotted $100 million for small towns, or of all size towns in Texas, to develop a comprehensive plan focused on resiliency. And we're very excited that Martindale was awarded the full $300,000 to develop a very comprehensive plan for your community. And so tonight, we're here to tell you a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes, what to expect coming up in the next 2 years, and how that looks.
Nice.
So if you'll just move on. So our team, a lot of you know Judy Langford, the manager, the owner and president of Langford Community Services. She just celebrated 40 years in the grant business, and her primary goal is to work with small rural communities to empower them to build, grow, or manage productive growth and assist. She has her hand on everything in the company, not just a go do it and we'll talk about it later. She touches everything. I've already introduced myself. I'm Jerry Conrado. Dennis Koo is here tonight. He's our senior engineer, and he met a few of you yesterday at the charm workshop, which was, I heard, really a good experience. And he'll update you tonight on what's going on the data collection. Tim Jenkins is our senior planner. He'll also give you a quick update on what's going on the comp plan. Lots of things behind the scenes, even though this is our first presentation to you. Well, second, we did a kickoff. Lots of stuff going on. We have a GIS specialist, Helen Willard, who's converting CAD maps to GIS, and I'll tell you more how that works in a moment. and Kevin Coleman is our community relations. So I only brought a few of the team with me tonight, but we're here to help to share with you what's going on. As I mentioned, we have $300,000 to write, update a comprehensive plan focused on resiliency. We were able to get $300,000 for Martindale because we said, just because Martindale is a smaller community, not as big a population as, say, Huntsville, we still have just as much work to do to get you all your maps digitized, everything up to date, and ready for new possibilities of grants to pay for the types of programs and projects we develop in the comp plan. The General Land Office requires that we have a hazard and risk assessment, population study with a 20-year projection, housing study with a 10-year projection, land use plan, capital improvement, optional chapters, and review of your current zoning ordinances with any recommendations to update those by the end of 2 years. So the 2 years looks like this. We're about into month 6. The contracts were executed. Oh, I forgot to mention, it took us a year to get to the funding of the grant. This is a brand new program. Never has it been done before, which the General Land Office was kind of figuring it out as we were waiting patiently. So it was finally funded in October. And as we've moved through, we've been developing a lot of the processes to set a standard going forward. And Martindale was one of the first 3 or 4 funded, first 8 funded actually. So it's kind of a new territory, but with the basics of a core comp plan. But months 0 through 6, what we've been working on is collecting data, looking at maps, looking at hazard mitigation plans that you participated with as a multi-jurisdictional piece of a county-wide plan, looking at what you already have in place and what you might need. As we move into the next segments, we'll be sharing with you those draft studies. This is our first public meeting. There are 3 required, but another reason we were able to justify the full 300 is we wanted a little bit more community engagement. We wanted you all involved. We wanted it's your plan. We want you to be working on it, and that's how we did it. So we're very excited. By the end of the 24 months, we have to have the plan complete and adopted. Then we have an additional year to look at any zoning recommendations and finalize. So we don't have to go through step by step, but I wanted you to know how hard we're working behind the scenes. There's a lot of things going on, especially working with the General Land Office. One of the things they said to me was, it's kind of like we're building a plane while we're flying it. I said, that's scary. And what it looks like is we submit the documentation that they request, and then they say, well, we're thinking more like this. So go back, and I know you all have been very patient dealing with me to give us some more documentation. Let's look at this differently. No, that's not what we wanted. We now want this. I think we're pretty much through that first segment. We have met milestone 1, and milestone 2 is all the field collections and things we're working on now. By the end of the milestone 5, we will have all the closeout documentation ready and to close out the document. Go ahead. So I'm going to turn it over to Dennis.
Oh, wait, could we ask you questions now? Or?
You can, or you can
Okay.
wait till Dennis is through and, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned, can we go back to phase 1 or milestone 1?
Yes.
So, okay, data collection. What data have you collected? And you talked about a GIS package,
He's gonna
review
share.
plans and current studies.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
what?
coming up.
Okay, okay,
Dennis.
good. 'Cause I haven't even seen any of this stuff.
No, I understand. That's why we're here tonight, to
Okay,
share with
good.
you. And Dennis is going to tell you what he's been collecting, what the GIS looks like, and all of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next slide, yes. So, yeah, to answer your question, part of what we're going to deliver to the city is going to be a GIS tool, planning tool that will, the data I'm collecting I'm working with Martindale Water Supply Corporation, I've talked to Steve, I'm gonna go talk to him about needs, set up a meeting with him to talk about needs, but also I've got the name of his engineer. We're gonna grab whatever format he has, system map, and we're gonna digitize it, create called georeference, which means that it'll be in the right spot on the earth in the mapping and basically of the water system. So you'll be able to cite, and then we'll also take your wastewater maps and get those from Thomas Turk, do the same thing. Take the parcel maps from the county. We'll also bring in a lot like, for those of you who were at the Charm workshop yesterday, it'll be a lot like what you saw there, but it'll be localized for your information. They don't have your local information. They have publicly available information. FEMA floodplains, those sort of things. We'll have those same layers. But if you want to maybe go to the next one, I can feel kind of visualize what I'm talking about. So basically, you'll be able to simultaneously see your zoning, your flood areas, your infrastructure, your parcels, future land use. That's part of our deliverable, is to have a future land use map. So we'll digitize all of it and then teach you how to use it basically to keep it going right into the future. What we were hoping is be a comprehensive plan that then, it'll be updated. You'll be able to use this into the future as you do plan. And we actually got some really good information yesterday, got part of it done at the workshop. Attended with Jared and Adrian, Mike and Matthew, where Jared basically was going about, telling them, here's all the development happening in our ETJ. So we'll, we can place all that on a future land use, right, and show, that those developments so that you can be actually using data-driven information to make your decisions on it. So that's basically my part of it. I'll be also doing the implementation plan, working with capital improvements. We'll be working with Jared and council and also your engineer, Thomas Turk. That's in summary what my part of it.
I know Adrian was very excited about the GIS mapping.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's excited about that part of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any questions?
Maybe I'm way ahead of myself. I know we're just starting this, but two things for me is we have, everybody, I'm like a broken record. Everybody gets tired of hearing what I'm gonna say, but we're a river town and we got the beautiful spring-fed San Marcos River and land use, future land use, for example. That's a beautiful parkland and we need to really incorporate that to our master plan. And something I'm really pushing for is a zero discharge treatment plant. That's a long way out. And maybe I'm just dreaming or something. But again, you've heard this. I said this yesterday.
Yeah.
We are not Pflugerville. We're not Round Rock. We're Martindale. We're on the beautiful San Marcos River, and we really need to preserve this beautiful. I think we all agree on that. So it has to be held like this, to me, very important, those two things, especially the treatment plant would have a zero discharge. And I don't know if I was way ahead of myself,
Well,
but
how that's gonna look, is we'll have a capital improvement plan that'll look at infrastructure and how to acquire it, programs to acquire it, and areas to look at. So that's how we'll address that one aspect of it, zero discharge. The other is going to look at land use plans. And so the result of all this, my expectation is we'll have a brand new and then we'll have a notional zoning map for a point in the future. So not only what the zoning looks like within the city boundaries today, but notional zoning for when the city expands if it were to. So that will cover both those things.
I know I'm way ahead of myself, but I just.
Yeah.
I don't think you're that ahead of yourself. I think.
Well,
I think we all agree. I think everybody in this council agrees with that.
and we also have additional studies that we want to focus on that particular area, go deeper dive on that aspect. We can look at.
Yeah, I think they have to.
But for me, I think everybody agrees with me. That's probably one of the two priorities for me. would be that, like I always said, what's good for the river is good for Martindale. I think everybody in this room would agree with that. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So it said like a 2-year to 3-year, plan going into the future. How will you as liaisons coordinate with us as say we meet or talk with developers? Or how besides, I guess you would speak with Jared then?
Correct.
Or, I mean, is there a point where you come to the meeting, say with a developer, or you just like handed updated information? I mean, how much do you interface with us on a direct personal basis during the course of the next couple of years?
Mostly it would be getting information, getting with Jared and making sure that we're incorporating anything that's coming before the city is in the plan. We won't be involved with, negotiating with a developer or coming to those meetings, but we'll make sure that we are, he's the one, and y'all as well, are gonna be the ones who have the information on what's happening on the ground. And here you'll get more into the stakeholder engagement process, but during that is when we really expect, that's when the citizens, whoever's gonna, be on that committee will basically give all the input that we're gonna use to what you're seeing, things that are happening. We saw a lot of it actually at that meeting yesterday.
The goal is not so much city staff. They ask for documents, we provide them documents, which is definitely part of it. But this, by the end of it, this is going to be a very collaborative, community-wide, all ideas welcome. And then they'll have the job to synthesize all that and make it into a manageable plan. Say, we believe this is where the consensus was when we did all our data research. Here's the factors that we, from a technical standpoint, based on our expertise, engineering, planning, urban planning, those sort of things. Here's what we think. And then city council gets a chance and community gets a chance to weigh in on it, mark it up. And in the end, it's our plan. It's not something that Langford is working on in the back office and say, here you go, and they go home. It's going to be. There you go. Maybe that's a good lead into.
Yes.
How much involvement then will they be with the city in terms of like workshops that will be meeting with the community like on a regular basis and then?
Next section.
Next section.
Next section. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reflections or assessment plans.
I'm Tim. I'm going to be your planner. I've been a director of planning. 2 very different cities, Port Aransas, then Hutto. And a lot of the experiences in Hutto I heard yesterday when we were doing the workshop. Hutto, we had silos in downtown. Now it's a shop. I'm not saying that's what that'll become, but they look at opportunities that can bring and reinforce your downtown. So maybe they're opposed, who knows? But that's the kind of thing we want to allow for you guys is, speculate, think about different scenarios and we'll capture them and set up options for you to choose from and look out 20 years and, have some strategies. The strategies are a key thing because to get the money, we had to promise that we're going to help you think resiliency in all your planning. And all that is considering risks in everything you decide. And how do you be able to bounce back from a disaster or any kind of challenge for the city? So it may be rebuild what you had or have alternatives set up. You guys are talking about your alternative byway or construction. That'll lead into talk about why don't we do that permanent, whatever. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing, guys. And time's gonna go fast, I think. I know it sounds like a long time, but fast. We're available. I mean, I'm working on a land use plan, and I'm expecting to hear about, any developer coming and offering up something or wanting to skedaddle and go join San Marcos, how to come up with strategies to negotiate and help you guys. So yeah, we're gonna be involved, we're gonna be available.
Okay.
And, that's really the message I want to get across. Everything's gonna be standard land use. And also for Mr. City Attorney, we're not gonna write any zoning ordinance without you seeing any recommendations and getting the right language. And it's gotta be based on that comprehensive land use. That's required. So we'll be talking about zoning as we go, but we're not gonna put anything in paper until you guys have recognized that comprehensive land use plan. So we don't wanna get ahead of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way the legislature is set it up to make your zoning ordinance clear and clean, legal. Look forward to it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I wanted you to hear that because there is. But this is your plan, and our goal is to, if you go to the next slide, is to involve you. We're looking at the first 6 months or so from now, not the first 6 months because we're already into the 6th month, is to meet about 2 hours for planning review meetings. The first one we'll schedule, I'll work with Jared and Adrian to put a schedule together, is we'll do review of current plans. We'll be looking at them, made aware of what you already have. If you have things, if you don't have a lot, that's not as much time on that. We'll look at putting together a community survey because we want your community involved in every way that we can get all of their input. You mentioned in the kickoff meeting that you would like surveys online, Facebook or emails, newspaper, social media, Facebook posts. And we'll be kicking that off with your help at the first meeting to identify the survey, the questions, the things you want to get from the community. And go ahead and move ahead, please. So I put together a community engagement marketing portal, and this is where we can easily capture a press release. And at the first key stakeholder planning meeting, we'll line out when we want to do press releases strategically. First of all, to announce that you've been awarded this grant, we're starting to work on it. As we go along, different decisions, encouraging people to go online, take a survey, give us your input. And as we post on Facebook, again, feeding them back into the surveys so that we can get as much input as possible. Some communities are a lot more active, some are a little less active, but all seem to get excited about their future use of the town and what we're doing, the future use of the comp plan for the town. So that's what we have planned. And
What's an example of outreach that you would do to a small community like us that may not all have online, or paper survey, or what is an example of other types of community outreach other than online?
we've done farmer's market. We've done a booth at a farmer's market. As we get further on a line, further on along, we'll have maps and things to show. We're gonna print up some cards with QR codes that if they do have online access, they can go on and take a survey. We can print out some flyers and have a stack here at City Hall that we could also note on the website, and these links, stop by, give us your feedback, fill out a survey, and we might give you an ice cream sandwich or a popsicle or something. I don't know. You know, I'm trying to think creative here.
Jerry doesn't know this yet, but the mayor and I and Adrian were talking about, maybe we could have a booth on the 4th of July parade.
Yeah.
And other community events to where we know there'll be a lot of visibility and foot traffic to take advantage of it.
And we'll help you by supporting that with the flyer, a rack card, a poster, something to show people what's going on and to encourage their input. So last but not least, every town gets very excited about this. With the 300,000, we were able to allot an additional amount for a possible optional chapter. And what this is diving a little deeper into something that's important to your community. Wimberley, for example, is focused 100% on water conservation.
Exactly.
Because if people aren't there in the summer and the aquifers are dried up, they don't have business, they don't have visitors, it is a serious issue. Actually, it's serious in every community around Texas.
Exactly.
But that type of thing is very important to them. Smithville's looking at downtown development, trying to encourage more activity in their downtown area, as Lexington is. What are some other examples? Hallettsville has a empty industrial park. It's been purchased, it's been sitting there. They want to focus on encouraging some industrial growth. But just the opposite, Creedmoor, the little town right outside of Austin, is being almost every industrial person in that area wants to move out there and take up all their available space with big industrial and sometimes not so pretty companies that could cause issues. So guiding that growth and looking at that is a really good way to look at possible optional chapters. This digitizing this plan is something that's going to be required for future grants. It's here, we have to do it. So this will make you ready for grants that could support some of these activities that we come up with. So at first we thought a grant opportunity report at the end of the plan might be a good idea. But what we're discovering is grants are coming all the time. Some of them have deadlines, some have competition type applications, some don't, but most do. So you've got to be ready to participate, and we'll be helping and guiding you along. But at the end of the day, we want to educate you on how to use these tools, not a PDF file on the shelf in a book that you look at every once in a while. Those of you who were at the workshop yesterday, we'd like to have some tools like that at some point where you can use it to guide your city. And so that is what we're all about.
Wow.
I like
thank you.
that possible optional chapter. You already got the top 3 for me right there.
You can't do them all though, that's.
Those are the top 3 in order for me. That's good. You covered just what I said earlier.
Yeah, oh, one quick thing I forgot to tell you about this. In our initial research, a lot of the community said, you know, we'd love to have an app that we can just communicate with the city. If there's this as an example of a water main break or, you know, something in the area that everyone needs to know about. And this is a free tool. City of Kennedy is using it. I've noticed a few others. It's got training on it. You can use it from your community for governments, and you can have the police, the fire, you know, anybody that wants to make an announcement. It has to be managed from the city, but then the citizens, we're seeing it organically grow where you can use it for emergency notifications and other things, but it's free. So we didn't really need to develop an app. So take a look at it if you're interested in an app for the community.
Wow.
Okay.
Any other questions? Excited?
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's great.
We'll be in touch with the second meeting will be a planning key stakeholder meeting, and we will organize that within the next probably month, and I can't remember the date we tentatively talked about, but we'll confirm that and get everyone on board and get going or keep going. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one question. So I like the press release, and it's really it's for them. But I like the press release, the way that it is. How far in advance did we know, put that on our website? Is it on our website?
Not
No,
yet.
that's notional. I think that's using an example template and it's like some, a
So this,
Martindale branding on it, but
this
that hasn't
was-
gone out yet.
what was this official meeting though?
This counts as a public meeting, but it's not going to be the only public meeting. There's going to be several. There has to be a minimum of 3. We'll probably end up with, 6, 8.
I know, but if we have a public meeting, you think our publics would have been notified?
So let me put it this way. Is a public meeting as it relates to the contractual requirement with the GLO. It is not a public meeting for the purposes of developing a comprehensive plan. So the purpose of tonight's meeting was to orient
Announce
city
it.
council
Yeah.
on here's what we're doing. The next part is doing the media announcement.
Yeah,
Say this is
so then
happening.
just like,
So this wasn't intended to be a come one all type of discussion of, hey, we're doing this
But
now.
it's like an announcement meeting of everything, right? Like of
For the
what's going
for the
on.
council.
The first key stakeholder meeting will be the planning only, the key stakeholders only. And at that meeting, we're lining up the calendar for release of the press release, for the posting on the website. We didn't have enough to really put on there yet.
Uh-huh.
But after that first meeting, we'll identify when to release those press releases, when to start the public engagement, when to notify them of future meetings and so forth.
Gotcha. I think just with I think I take things and I hear them and I read them like literal. So if it's saying public meeting, you think the public, but we got 2 council candidates, the wife of a council member and our wonderful neighbor here. So we're glad that they're here, but yeah, okay. It was
Thank you for
just,
coming.
Technicality.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
we will
you.
be official with any meeting and let everyone know. And as soon as we can put the, we didn't want to get ahead of ourselves too much because we don't have a lot to post there and we haven't even agreed on the survey yet. So
Gotcha.
after the first meeting, you'll see it rolls out.
Awesome. Thank you.
I put one there too.
And he's on the sign in sheet, there it is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for driving clear down here from Liberty
Well,
Hill.
like I said, there's
I
not
really
many hotel
appreciate
rooms
it.
for what we said, so we have to call it. I think we'll be fine. I think I just.
She's got all our phone numbers.
You've got all our phone numbers.
Are they going to have to sit there?
No, they're not.
Look at that view.
Oh, we did
Hey, come on now.
Killing me, dude. Yeah.
Is there some letters to go?
Yeah, I know, you can only use that. You run.
I'll still, Jared,
Thank you.
driveway.
There you go.
I'm gonna find it.
Okay, let's get back to business.
Thank you, Sonia.
Okay, we'll go back to 3.1. Discussion, possible action on motion to accept or deny to engage with Haney and Company to do the 22-23 annual financial audit. They've raised their fees to 27,000 and we budgeted 22.
Ooh,
So we,
what was it? It was only 20 last time.
It's
Yeah.
been
Are
20,
they the same people that just came to present? Okay.
it's been about $20,000 for the last 6 or 7 years. I think it's reasonable to expect an increase over that period of time. This is a higher bill. The city's it's right now where we're at in the calendars. It makes sense for us to continue to use them, close out our accounting system. We're incorporating a new accounting system now. When that new accounting system is online, that fiscal year 24 audit should be a new firm with different pricing because we made some capital investment on developing the reports.
That's my,
So those reports, when we're doing the data transfers, are not available for prior fiscal years. It's when we transfer data. So that's why it's a little more expensive. At this point, given where we're at in the calendar, we're hoping to achieve some efficiencies coming right off the heels of the 2022 audit to get this done fast and quick and move on to 24.
do they bill by hour or is it, this is just a write a check?
I believe it's fixed price, but
we do pay an increment.
Is that a 30% increase?
That's good math there, Mike.
30% increase?
over the course of 6 or 7 years.
Well, remember last year they asked for
30%?
26,000 and we hadn't budgeted that much. And I called and,
30%?
I called and they did reduce it back down to 20,
And now it's
but we
27.
can't get away with it again.
Yeah, but maybe 23 or 24, but 27, that just seems loud. But go ahead, I mean.
What other choice do we have? Was there any other firm that would be willing to do our business?
There's no.
Do we have any, look,
I mean, we haven't even looked. We're really,
We're
we're
behind.
poorly positioned. Essentially what could happen if we don't move forward on something soon, not saying it has to be them, but if we don't do something soon, we're gonna have 2 audits taking place simultaneously on 2 different accounting systems. It's gonna be a world of complexity that I don't want to be in. And given the familiarity with our accounting books, our policies, our structures, I think it's in our best interest to move forward with what it is. And they've been trying to raise prices for the last 4 years, and we've negotiated each year lower, lower, lower. They're just trying to get their bill rates to match with their, corporate bill rates as it is. So we can go back and push higher.
Are we behind because we had issues with books? Which is
We had issues on several
levels.
levels. They were doing on-site accounting, because most of our receipts and everything are paper-based. They made those, changed the structure for the fiscal 22 audit to be electronic only. Digital, so we had to digitize hundreds of records. And then we sent it to them.
This
And then they were, I think because we were late getting that to them, we were also then put later in the cycle for them to start working on it again. So
You say
There was-
you're talking about,
Hayden Company. So we were, I don't know, 4 or 5 months late in getting the documents to them. But by that point, their workflow, we're put at the end of the line. By the time they got to us, another 6, 7 months. And so that's how we ended up.
We're a year behind.
Of a year, almost a year and a half. We should already have the 23 audit done at this. But because we had to digitize records and the level of support that we need to create the annual financial reports, which is not a standard process for auditing firms.
sure,
That's
sorry,
Yeah.
is 23 gonna be quicker since we've already converted to the
We,
digital
we
format?
anticipate
Uh,
it's going to be.
If we move quickly, we should be, because we've gone through and have digitized our receipts and payments and stuff, we expect it to go quicker. There's no guarantee that it does so.
Can we lock in this price for the next 2 years?
We should get cheaper pricing on the 24.
Yeah,
Because
we're going
what-
to new standard.
So really, your audit report should be 5 pages. And the rest of the document is the consolidated annual financial report. The consolidated annual financial report really should be prepared by the city. And then the audit is validating the information that's in it based on government accounting principles and sampling standards. So what we hope to do is be able to develop those reports ourselves and then give it to an audit firm. They do the policy review, transaction sampling, provide, their letter of, findings or.
So Mike, on
The
this,
problem is, we're spending a lot of money in accounting for the minuscule amount of money that the city receives between, an employee doing it and this. This is, we're making 75, 80 grand a year by the time we pay Dwayne and people doing the accounting paperwork.
Yeah.
We're spending more than 20% of the money we receive just to do accounting.
I mean, if you include the utility clerks in there, you're probably like
Maybe
100,000.
Yeah, so it's over 20%.
Man, that's a lot of money.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, and then anyone who's in accounting is gonna tell you G and A should never be 20%. That is absurdly high. I've been consistent with this. I've been saying this all along. I'm very concerned about if we're not collecting the money, then the staff needs to get to that level, or we need to automate to the point where I'm not trying to remove people's jobs. They're trying to know what's best for our pocket money that we're receiving from the city and spending it wisely.
Okay.
That's why we got the clerk books.
what can we automate?
We're trying to automate the annual financial reports,
Yeah.
which is.
That's why we spent the money on the accounting thing.
Yeah.
If you spend money on accounting, then we're gonna go up 30%.
Well,
So-
we're on different fiscal years now.
I'm just thinking, you're saying 30%, it's 30% in 1 year, but they haven't raised
No, I
it.
didn't say
They
that.
haven't- They haven't raised it in 7 years, that's 4% per year, that's about right. Look at it that way.
Yeah,
We've
we
been
can do
We're
it.
negotiating with these people.
Well, we've been negotiating for several years, like last year, I don't know if you remember, but they asked for 26,000. And I was able to call and get them to reduce it back down to 20,000.
We make another phone
Because-
call.
Well, I don't think we can do it again.
I mean,
That was shocker.
The problem is, and Matt, to your point, is that there's two requirements. One, under the local government code, a city is statutorily mandated to have a city accountant. And under other, I looked it up, a city is mandated to have an annual audit. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
if this is a money-making entity, which it is not, I get it,
It's still the fiscally responsible.
yeah, I mean, well, I'm never gonna argue that government mandates fiscal responsibility. I think it does the exact opposite.
On a federal level, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, no, I mean,
You're allowed
well,
to say that?
the city is required to do this by
His
state law.
paycheck is the same either way.
Yeah, I mean, look, whether or not it's the right thing to do, state law says you must do this. And so there's zero discretion
So-
built in.
If you're looking at it as a business standpoint, we can't sit here and say, well, what else can we cut? You know, and I wouldn't be at my restaurant saying, well, we can't have these employees, that's just weighing us down. It's like, no, we need to bring more people through the door.
Or you would increase prices.
And there's a couple different avenues here.
So I did it real quick, 2018, $20,000, today's money on the
Just for
BLS
clarification, he's
statistics.
pointing at his screen. He is not pointing at me. I am not raising
No,
anything.
the CPI inflation calculator, $20,000 in 2018 is equivalent to $25,000 today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's reasonable.
And what I was saying wasn't meant to be an insult to the city.
I'm offended.
It's out of the city's hands. The city is told, you will do this, and so.
And for good reason. I mean, we've had questionable accounting things, flips come up from time to time in the past. So, I mean, I don't think it's completely unreasonable that they want both things covered. A trained accountant and an audit practice. But we still have to figure out how to pay for it.
Back to what Nick said, made a good point. I mean, they say next 5 years, next 6
We're
years.
not gonna use that company again.
Yeah.
This will give us
We're
time
gonna,
to
we're
look.
gonna rebid this full and open once we have our new books up and running.
Hmm.
So we're going, you should see at least half of this price going forward.
Well, yeah, because all of it's gonna be digitized and put in the standard that they need. Anytime you do an audit where they're having to basically manually go through everything to verify, which is what they've been doing, they're costing us a lot of money. So make the motion, somebody.
Yeah, all right, I make a motion to accept, to engage with Haney and Company to initiate the 2022-2023 annual financial audit at $27,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Kathy.
We have a motion. Do we have?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, is there any more discussion?
Yes, I would like to. So since I've been on the council, like for a while, this is what year with this company?
So as it's constituted now as Haney and Company, I think this is year 6.
But
Or
before
7.
that, it was named something else,
And
but it was the same company.
It had this, so the prior firm sold or merged, acquired,
Mhm.
and it became Haney Company. And that was a couple of years before that. So I think in
Like 10.
total, I don't know if it's that long, but it's approaching. that.
About,
I'd say more than 6, less than 10, somewhere in that range.
yeah, I mean, I think like this vote, that's like a quick fix, right? Because like supposedly, okay, everything's gonna be working and we have all our receipts and it's all digitized. And like, I mean, before the first paragraph on the book that we got, it says that they were not able to get documents in a timely manner from the city with the report that they gave us, right? So I think like now, not to even to consider looking at somebody else and just saying, or we're just gonna put a Band-Aid on it for a little bit and then rip the Band-Aid off.
Yep.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, the reason I voted for this new software, because I went in there, I saw what he was doing. I'm familiar with what he was doing. I've been through audits before when we've changed over software systems, and it's a effing nightmare. I mean, I know what they're doing, but them making us go digital and doing that burden on Dwayne, which was costing us an enormous amount of money because we're putting a high-priced person to be responsible for digitizing documents. To be quite honest with you, I would like nothing more than to never do business with these people ever again, just because that was an undue burden, you know?
Well, and it was a team effort because Adrian's been working with how to save documents.
Well, he's done great stuff. There's no, I understand, but you understand the overall spirit of their attitude to the city, I think is what you're getting at is poor. They don't want the business. I don't think they want the business.
Well, because we
No,
keep
I don't
begging
get
them
that
for a
sense.
lower price. So why would you want your least paying consumer?
And then like, why would we want the same company for years and years and years if there was like misappropriation of funds, which
They came in after that.
they came in after that?
Yeah.
Way before we came on.
It wasn't that long ago.
35 years
Before I
ago.
got elected.
We still haven't got paid for it, so.
45 years ago.
That was around 2015.
Mm,
So if y'all go back,
Almost.
if y'all go back and talk about, can you reduce that?
Well,
I mean, I just don't,
I don't believe that we can.
have we tried it?
We've done it in the past
Have we tried it
several
this time?
years.
We haven't got their official engagement letter yet. This is what they sent us in an email. So
You know, me,
there's opportunity to negotiate down from that.
I like to
This would be a
negotiate.
ceiling.
I like to negotiate. I just,
It's Mike's favorite thing to do.
yeah, you got it.
Well, I like to finish out this company, like Jared said, with the old accounting system, because 23 is gone. And now we just now bought the new accounting system. So when we get the new firm, we'll have the new accounting
So
system.
do we have, that, here, lady, what's the projected cost of that?
Well, we already paid it.
I know, I mean, it was this all digitized,
I expect it to be approaching at least half this price.
and I quote you on that. Can we put that?
Well,
If you want to quote my expectation,
Sure. Salary?
I didn't say
that is my salary.
Go ahead, take that yours. Yeah. Take that your salary, yes.
That is- Oh, well, I'm still.
I vote yay. Get it over with.
Okay, is there any
What's the
more
date?
discussion? Okay, hearing none.
Okay, I want to go on record that we, by doing this, I want to have the minutes of the meeting that by digitizing our accounting documentation, that we think it'll be a substantial saving for the next fiscal year, this year, 2024.
You hope.
What?
You hope it's gonna be that.
I didn't say hope at all.
Okay.
All right, we got a motion and a second.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion carries.
A little drama.
Thank you, guys.
Got a little drama at the end of the table.
Okay, we're gonna move on to 3.3. We thought that this would be a really good time to go over chapter 91 with code enforcement.
Could we see who's on Zoom?
I don't know if that matters, but go ahead.
We don't have it in our
does matter
packet.
To me.
Chapter 91?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I shred, I burn.
I thought you had signs all over your yard, save the trees.
Sorry,
You need to
guys.
think about that next time you turn it on.
Hey, he
Go on, I've got 400 little saplings
Right?
out there.
Decompost it. Decompost.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Gets back to the
I
earth.
got all the red, you want some red oaks? I got like 400 little
Yeah,
saplings.
but hey, you can't compost ink.
Hmm?
It's not good to go straight to the water table.
It's a total, some of the total. I used to work for toilet manufacturer, let me tell you.
All right, So this afternoon, I put together a little PowerPoint, just to prep us before we get into it. Happy to share this with council afterwards. Let's see, sharing, yeah, we're good. All right. Where?
Real quick, do we have, when was the last time we had code for, I mean, way before I got elected. I know Bubba Ranky was code for, but how long, was that 2015
That was the last.
or something like that?
That was the last we had somebody,
Is that 15 left?
I don't know. I can go back in the record.
Before my time. Okay.
So, public nuisances, we're gonna be talking chapter 91, which includes noise regulations, weed and brush, roadside maintenance, junk and nuisance vehicles, and substandard structures.
Oh,
As-
there's a lot there.
As we go through that, we'll probably touch on some of these other related code enforcement chapters. Nuisance is one area of code enforcement. Code enforcement also includes building codes, health and safety codes, zoning codes. Tonight, try to focus on public nuisance. However, as you get into some of that stuff, I think if we discover or want to talk about issues that could be looked at in the lens of public nuisance or changes to the public nuisance ordinance, that's something that we'll want to talk about. So these other chapters start becoming relevant depending on the discussion. So the code, the city officers, employees, fees and fines, solid waste, sewer, and then all the land use titles for the most part. The big ones being zoning, building regulations, and some of the other ones. So that's not to say there aren't also state codes, health and safety code being one. Like if you had restaurant inspections and those things that would fall in the code enforcement umbrella. So that's where we're at. We'll kind of talk first about roles and responsibilities, staff roles. So that starts in some ways with both the chief of police and I. So for the chief of police, he manages the police department, which includes the code enforcement inspector. And we'll talk about that. One of his assigned duties is to perform code enforcement. So that's an assigned duty per our chapter 31 responsibilities. Code enforcement inspector is assigned underneath the police chief by the city council approved job description, where that person works under the police chief to investigate possible building, zoning, public nuisance code violations. So this is not a licensed code enforcement official. This is someone who's an inspector, part of the police department. There's a separate licensing provision that goes into becoming more licensed than that. But really, it's really to be inspector investigator on code enforcement issues. My role, city administrator's role, is amongst all the different things to work with the chief of police to coordinate and manage permitting and code enforcement. So there's a role for me as well as city administrator in that. Part of that comes when the positions are vacant for city planner, zoning administrator, building official, historic preservation official. Those duties get assumed by the city administrator. But building official is one of those that's very heavily in the code enforcement. So in addition to reviewing building permits, responsible for enforcing building codes adopted by council, and is the chief code enforcement officer to stop and issue citations against people violating zoning codes. The zoning administrator, or building official officer, zoning administrator interprets new unlisted uses of activities within the zoning code and kind of serves to prep the planning and zoning board. So that's, in terms of staff, it really comes down to the chief and I, with the code enforcement inspector falling under the chief of police. So what's the city council's role in code enforcement? It's only related to planning and zoning commission or substandard structures under chapter 91. Or I should say, and as the board of adjustment, where with a 75% vote supermajority, the board of adjustment, city council acting as a board of adjustment, can reverse any order decision made by the zoning administrator, decide in favor of an applicant on which, there's a contentious issue or authorize any variation to the zoning code. So basically, the Board of Adjustment, city council sitting in that, as that body can essentially do what it wants within the zoning context. With the supermajority vote. So that's council role. Council's, yeah, we'll get into, we'll make into other things.
Can I ask a question about slide 1?
Yeah.
Can you go back to it? Where it said the chief of police?
Yeah.
So on that one where it says manage police departments to have perform code enforcement. And we have a code enforcement inspector, but couldn't the chief do the same thing as a code enforcement inspector?
Yeah, really, the code enforcement inspector is a higher staff member to assist the chief of police and the police department with code enforcement.
But
So,
is that not is that the guy that comes in and works? like,
Yes.
Once a,
yeah, James.
are we that busy where we need our chief and we need a code enforcement person to come in?
There is enough code enforcement work that if it were just the uniformed police officers, the chief being one, doing all that work, it's my assessment that would take up the bulk of their duties. So I don't know, chief, you want to weigh in?
Because he only comes in one time a week, right? Or
Yeah, he works 10 hours a week on average, 10 hours a week. Some of that time is preparing reports, sending letters and so forth. So you actually in the field, it gets cut down because when you got to start putting together a PowerPoint presentation, taking pictures and putting that all into a report, that takes a lot of time. So really in the field, he's probably, you're talking 2 or 3 hours a week. So driving around the city. So if you really look at it in the big picture of things. So as we're patrolling around, we're looking for things as well. That's what I told y'all last week. Hey, we weren't spending the time. We answer calls for code enforcement, like noise, barking dogs, loose animals, things like that. We respond to calls for those. We don't spend our time. We're going to spend more time doing code enforcement. I will tell you that right now. That's going to take away from other duties. I will tell you, I've been working for the past 2 weeks on 2 sexual assaults of children. Code enforcement, sexual assaults of children. We have to weigh these things. It is what I'm trying to talk about. So we don't have the staff. If we want to say, hey, we want to have our code enforcement guy here, a full-time guy, we could probably have 40 hours. I don't think that's necessary. I think that there's a lot of stuff. We're preparing to do things. I've said it before, if we're going to have these ordinances, we need to have some bite to go along with the bark. We go out and tell people, hey, this is what we need. We need you to do this. We need you to clean this house up. We need you to do this. However, we never go back and find them. A lot of the times, if we go back and find them, we're sort of just beating a dead horse because they can't really afford it. I just talked to someone today. Y'all go over and look at their house. I didn't bring the phone. I got a picture of it. They hired, got a dumpster. We've been dealing with them for a long time, working with them to say, hey, you got to clean this stuff up. So they finally get a dumpster, $800 a load. That was their entire income tax return. So now we just cost you people $800 because we're giving them that. Now they're probably not gonna get everything out of there. That's what it costs. Sorry, Jared. I was, the answer is $800 to empty that thing. So
Yeah.
one time, drop it off and it's, that's what it's costing us, these citizens. So that's what they're doing. We had another guy just recently that we've been dealing with for a lot of motor vehicles. Got a lot of complaints on him, working with him to get rid of those motor vehicles. He just passed away. Now we're back to square one. No motor vehicles moved, but he's dead. So, we gotta start over at square one.
Yeah, maybe it is. You need somebody else or increases hours.
But do we want to go and start off at heavy-handed? This things take time. This didn't get broke overnight. It did not get broke overnight, and we can't fix it overnight. That's.
It's been ignored for a long time.
Well, like I said earlier, we have not had a code enforcement since 2015.
Well, we did, we started doing code enforcement. We hired for the position initially in 2022. We had somebody in that role. They left and we rehired the whole role.
Okay.
So we have
I
been
forgot about Lee.
approaching code enforcement. Lee did great. James is doing great. I think that what the chief was saying in terms of field work and staff work, like in office work, 50-50 or worse kind of thing. So I think that is a limiting factor. We don't have to, we could spend more money on this, but then it's less money going to other things. And so as we get into budget season, for the next fiscal year, 2025, that's probably something that council wants to see more or less of. I guess you can make the decision now, but that's not really the topic of tonight, but.
Yeah.
But real quick, wouldn't Bubba ranking 40 hours a week, if I remember? I think he was,
He
right?
was.
So we're talking, okay, I was wrong forgot about Lee, apologize. So we're talking 2015 to 22, we're talking 7 years. Basically without a code enforcement, is that correct? 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So, and this is it's a gradual process that we just initiated. And I think pretty sure it's 40 hours a week. So, I mean.
But I didn't want to put this up there, so I don't know who I was looking at this, but we're gonna address 5 houses. 5 houses here pretty quick. And what he just put in the other slide where, so we go give these people 30 days, you gotta get rid of this dilapidated house. 30 days. What do we do with them in 30 days? If they can't afford to get rid of it in 7 years, are we gonna start fining them the $100, $150 a day? And then is the city gonna step up and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna spend $20,000 to go demolish this house and try and get that money back from them? So that's what I'm talking about, is there gonna be some bite with the bark? We'll go tell them all day long, but if we start telling all these people to do this stuff and they just say, you're not doing nothing anyway.
But see, I'm just hearing you say bite or bark. I'm not
Yes, ma'am.
hearing anything about saying cohesiveness.
Oh, we've
Like
been that way.
if
That's why we said
we,
last
if
week.
the dumpster, like if we as a city have different opportunities to have dumpsters in areas, then we should focus on different areas that need the most help. Just like we're able to get, either volunteers or whatever, like to be able to provide these opportunities for some that need it, or to look to resources to try to help them. Because like you said, with people getting them punitive, if they're already living in, they're already in the lower socioeconomic, which a majority of our residents are here, some of them, but there is a lot. Whenever I'm talking about our school kids, because they're all qualified, but there should be programs out there that can help them, and then like facilitating that. So that way they're not out $8,000.
Yeah.
800.
But we have the cleanup coming up. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another thing.
We have it.
I just was meeting with someone back there today. I was meeting with someone today about that and told them when the cleanup is and so forth.
Mhm.
I called someone in to come meet with me about their property.
So yeah, it's like about, as a city, having those opportunities to help them.
Well, and that's what I said last week, when we talked about code enforcement at the last meeting, when I said, hey, we're gonna do, all the officers are doing more, but it takes time to go out, give warnings, go out and talk to the people, say, hey, what do you need? Where can you go? Go to Lockhart's drop-off day, come to our citywide cleanup and so forth. We're giving those instructions, but you also gotta have the law side of it, where we're going over there with the law. At what point do you say, hey, you know what, this, and I get it all the time, I get the complaints, you guys see as well. Hey, when are y'all gonna do something about this? When are you gonna do something about this? So what do we want? Do we want fines and punitive punishment, or do we want to try to work with people? Can't juggle and say how we're gonna be nice to this guy over here and not really do that and not do the same thing over here.
That's what we do all the time, sir. That's what we make our living off of. Treating people differently for the exact same thing.
So, yeah, Sonny brings up a good point. We'll probably get to it when we get to talk about substandard structures. We've gone to places with substandard structures, told them, hey, there's a FEMA buyout program available for you. No, I'm good. Well, you know what? We're going to come and start putting liens on things, and then maybe you'll be motivated to do the buyout program. In other cases, where I mean, that's in a position where the building is completely uninhabitable, hasn't been habitated for, decade plus. Other scenarios are, it's probably a substandard structure, not habitable, but there's still people living in it.
Yeah.
That's a difficult situation to be in. Do you go through the, cost of city to prosecute it to the end? End result is you're just going to get a lien on that property, and you're not providing any sort of solution. So Chief and I kind of were brainstorming this, and it's like, we could go spend $10,000 tearing down a house that's been abandoned and put a lien on the property and never see anything for it, probably spend, $5,000-6,000 in attorney's fees just getting that lien in place. And city's out $16,000. How many times can you afford to do that? A city our size, not a
Yeah,
whole
I mean, there's limited scope to that stuff, and I will tell you that years ago, why the decision was made to pull the trigger on the building across the street is because one could approach that building and see that there were brick walls within mere feet of the street that were almost on the verge of collapse. And so what we did as a city is went and secured an extra report, walked around and looked at it and said, yeah, this thing's about to fall down. And what we had is evidence of a clear and present public danger that necessitated being addressed because someone walking down the street next to that building was conceivably in danger. So the question is, how do you analyze these issues? And, something off in the distance that isn't close to anyone else's on a wide piece of property, while it may be unsightly, is not a danger, but still qualifies as a nuisance. So what do you do with it? And there's, if the city were in a situation where we have more money than we know what to do. We can't figure out ways to spend all of this. And we would like to address some of these nuisances. Okay, well, that's fine. But there is a component of this where the city has to look at investing limited resources into what could end up being a tear down, but without any real financial gain for years to come, if ever.
So would there be a different degree of urgency, whereas a structure that was in the floodplain and a structure that's in the floodway?
Yeah. That's something that the chief and I have coordinated on, and when Lee was here, we worked on a little bit, and I know James has worked on. We've gone through a couple approaches on substandard structures. One of the approaches is what our attorney just laid out, that was used. Another approach is using more of a local, our local court to do some of those activities, getting engineering assessments. I think given the difficulty faced in some of that, we're going to look at an alternative process that's allowed for under our public nuisances chapter, that may be a little bit longer of a process, but more easily administered by council and staff. So in fact, if we want to, we can segue into that, because we'll cover chapter 91 as much as you guys want, and kind of get more of the conversation is we can get into it. So with that, I'll show, for those following along online, where you can find this, and then city council wants, you can pull it up as well. We're just going to go in straight from the code. Once I get it up here. Ignore my CPI calculator. All right, so chapter 91 covers those things we just showed. Noise regulations, weed brush. The substandard structures start in the back. See if I was so substandard structures covers unsafe and unoccupied buildings. Unsafe buildings are those that are unsafe, unsanitary, or unfit for human habitation, not provided with adequate egress or a fire hazard or some other way dangerous to health, safety, and life. By reason of maintenance, dilapidation, abandonment. All buildings in violation of the International Property Maintenance Code constitute prima facie, basically on itself, evidence that the building and structure is unsafe. So that directs us, as often these things do, to other codes. And let me pull that one up. So for our purposes, whoops, that just took me to it. There we go. For our purposes, this is the International Property Maintenance Code. What we're going to be able to see from the street are exterior issues. So International Property Maintenance Code lists what are considered unsafe conditions. So it's not described in our own code, it references another code that gets applied. So it's 304.1.1. Basically where your walls and roofs and structures are not supporting its own weight. The siding, the joints between the masonry joint siding, dormer windows, doors, skylights are not maintained weather resistant or water tight. That's an element that's very easy to see. You can see a house, its siding's falling apart, the window's broken in,
The hole in the roof.
the hole in the roof.
Yeah.
I think in the example that we had here, windows broken, doors blown out, that sort of thing. It's very easy to see. So those are often going to be the features that we'll be looking at. Also, foundation systems, roof components having defects that emit rain, roof solids or any kind of adequate drainage.
So, I mean.
Basically, these things that are chimneys, towers, smokestacks that are falling down, not properly anchored. So things that look off are going to be off in this property maintenance code. I'm sorry.
So we have buildings all over every entrance into our town that could fit this description, various levels of degree, buildings that have been sitting there for even prior to 2015. I mean, how many buildings do we have documented at this point that could apply to this description? I mean,
So
how many currently are?
We have at least 10 that have been documented. I think at one point we had as many as 12. We started a project with a former code enforcement person, building official, made limited progress. What we got through at that point is we gave an engineering company a list of, I think it was 7 or 8 properties within the flood hazard area that fit this description. And following the procedure that Kent described with our other building that was from a public right of way, a visual assessment of the structure. We received engineering reports on those structures. They said generally they look unsafe, but we can't make a full engineering assessment. I think due to the distance between the roadway and the building, unlike here in downtown. And so at that point,
Why is that?
because they couldn't do a close-up visual inspection.
They'd be trespassing, right?
Well, I'm curious
Yes.
about that point, but yes.
Correct. So
That's the first thing popping.
So the reason that we were able, it was a guy named Don Atwell that did Morris Building. It was owned by Clarence Clark years ago. Because we were able to get access. That building is built right up to the property line. And Donnie could walk one on Carlton's property, 2 on the street, and was foot from the building and could see it. And so was able to make a very clear determination as to the condition of the, and it was, it was patently obvious. You could see the cracks in the walls and the wall beginning to lean and fall down. And that's
So couldn't you,
So we had-
couldn't you do that with a pair of binoculars?
So that was one of the,
Without trespassing?
that was one of the issues we faced, and
I
Can
mean,
we
if
work-
you got, okay, did you finish? If you got a structure that's totally dilapidated, you got a pair of binoculars, you can tell that it's unsafe by visual. I mean, do we need to have you, the chief, and the attorney get together and come up?
we'll come to that soon.
Come to that, let them,
We'll-
I've read
we'll
this,
come to
let
that
them,
soon, because that's where we're leading to. So we did the engineering reports. They were not as detailed enough to, hold up in court. So we're going to look towards getting some sort of court order that will allow us to access that property. Get a court order that allows us to make an up-close visual inspection to get the detail we needed to take a similar approach as we did the Mari building.
Can't do the pair of binoculars.
No, about that time, Lee left, James comes on board. We realized that process is not efficient, so that's kind of what you're getting at. So what other processes are available? There's another one through the planning and zoning, and this is probably where we segue to.
I think what I'd like to mention too is that what I see a lot happening is on the weekends where you have people fixing up garages or hooking electricity to garages or hooking water to garages or putting a roof on a substandard building that the city had deemed condemned anyway. And all these things are going on the weekend. And that's when we need someone to see this, to document it and to recognize it, because this is what it is on the weekend. And a lot of people have been doing this for years and years thinking, well, I'll just do it on the weekend and no one will see. I mean, and of course I've said things that I may not have been right about certain instances about do they need a permit or whatever, but I see these repeated buildings over many, many years. I see piles of debris that has been sitting on city property since 2015. I mean, it's like sometimes we say, well, how can we correct and tell other people to do these things when the city at some instances doesn't even do those things? We can't even afford to fix flood debris in the floodplain that's been there for 8 years. We can't even afford the manpower to pay for. I mean, it's like we're talking about this and this is great and you have to do this and that, but I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I've held my breath. I've been patient. I've seen these same dilapidated structures. We've been known about this for years and years. We've been categorized as a town that has these dilapidated structures. I know I sound frustrated, and I am frustrated because I'm tired of giving excuses. I'm tired of hearing excuses. You know, let's get a plan in action and do it. You know, I mean, we have plenty of people that have skid steers that would work for a day for $1,000 a day, and you could push a structure down in 4 hours and throw it in a dumpster. Why are we saying 8,000, 20,000?
You're the city and you're required to do surveys. You gotta do it. If there's any kind of hazardous materials in there, if there's all kinds of things, asbestos, what are you gonna do with that stuff? We're a city. We're not an average citizen that aren't required to do that stuff.
Yeah. If you want to go knock on your neighbor's door and offer that service,
So.
you still need a permit to demolish.
So a couple of things to consider is the only real way to do this is through the court system. And I don't mean the municipal court, I mean going over to district court. And what you would have to do is, I mean, I've got the template.
Well, we also have a method that's through our planning and zoning that he was gonna describe, that we can do it internally.
Okay.
And get it done
The
cheaper.
Maybe, but here's the reason that wasn't done before. Because the city for years looked over at that building and said, that building is a problem. How do we fix this? We can do it through planning and zoning, but guess what happens if you do it through planning and zoning? That is immediately appealable to municipal court. Okay? If you lose at municipal court, then it's immediately appealable to district court. And there's a time frame in place for all of those things. So what you do is if you decide to handle it internally, which you can, it becomes a paper tiger, because you hold a hearing and you say that this thing is dangerously damaged. Well, their response is going to be, how the heck do you know? Because if you've been on my property, the answer is no, you haven't. You don't have an engineering report where you've been in and on it and looked around and knocked on the walls and checked in the nooks and crannies and actually established that this thing is dangerous. And what this is governed by is Chapter 54 of the Local Government Code. That's what sets out the ultimate process. So you can start and go through planning and zoning, and you can tell someone your house needs to be torn down. What do? That gives them a reason to buy it. They appeal it to municipal court. And then what happens is if they don't like that, then they appeal it up to district court, which they can do. And so you spend then months looking at, working through a scenario that will inevitably end up where it must end up.
So you're basically telling me we're wasting our time even having the discussion.
No, I mean, if we identify buildings and we say, this is it, these must be addressed. Your clearest and your only real remedy is to file a suit in district court, request permission to enter the property and inspect it. And then once you inspect it, and then here's the other thing. This was the quote to demolish the property across the street. It was $34,200. And that was back in 2017. So go on ahead and tack on another
Which structure are you referring to?
And I was against, and I was on record, I was against that, and it worked out perfectly.
Well,
But my point is though, why can't we, there's a flood hazard. We have a flood hazard, we talked about asbestos, what about, okay, it's in the street, it's over here, but what about when it floods and that asbestos and all that stuff goes down the river? There's gotta be different
So
categories.
I think what Ken's getting at is the ultimate resolution, right? So what I want to focus on tonight, and the reason why I brought this planning and zoning up, is so that it creates a call to action within the community that's being taken seriously, and we're looking at it. Is it going to result in the final determination of things? No, it's like Ken laid out, subject to appeal and.
So you're telling me the district court could override the P and Z?
Yeah, I mean, we could, the P and Z, to this point, paper tiger, but it's a tiger nonetheless that may cause a call to action, spur to action. So nothing can be done within the time frame of even 2 years on, I see that house, doesn't have a roof on it, take it out. I mean, that's at least a 2-year process. But through the planning and zoning paper tiger approach, if you will, we can.
Not even in a flood hazard? If it's in a flood hazard, that's a whole nother category.
It's still someone's property.
But it's a flood hazard. I'm not an attorney, I'm claiming to be an attorney, but you're talking about a flood hazard. So, I mean, is there any way to category like flood hazard in a floodway or in a floodplain?
So
What this comes back to is the fundamental idea is due process. And if you are going to use the laws at your disposal to take some portion of someone's property, which this is, I mean, it is a lawful
I'm
taking.
not taking anybody's property.
If there's a structure and they want it.
Talk about a dilapidated building.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's
we're not
somebody's
taking-
property.
I
Somebody
look,
owns that.
I mean, I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but they may like it. They may want it.
It doesn't matter if they like it or want it. It's theirs. It's not yours.
Well, but then to Mike's point, the other side of the coin is, if it is a danger, the law provides a mechanism for.
Only
a-
through due process because it's not theirs.
Correct. And so that's why we can't simply say, planning and zoning has said X, you will comply. Unless after planning and zoning says X, they say, okay, fine, I'll do it. Which, if you haul someone in and say, tear down your house. I mean, they may comply. I think it's important to set expectations that they will most likely say, jump in the lake or go jump in the river. I'm not doing that. So we have to be, as Tommy said, if there truly is a problem, if we look at a structure and we say, this is a danger, this is in the floodway, and we believe that the condition of this property, if another flood comes and this washes down and it has the likelihood, not in a small way, but we consequently believe that this is a danger, we need to address it. And I support addressing all real dangers. We just have to get to that point of saying, this really is a danger.
So to go along with what Sonny was saying earlier, is exactly what we're trying to do, and handling with kid clubs.
Right.
You know, we go talk to the folks that have these, we've been talking to them and talking to them. But at some point in time, where do we go? Where we gotta go to the district court?
Well, and then I will tell you the other side of it is, I mean, look, I fully support any effort to maintain community standards. And, you know, if there's building codes and making standards ordinances that say you shall maintain your property this way, enforcing that. If there was a real outcry from this community for making people rip down structures, I think we would see this room filled with people saying, get rid of all those structures. And so you've got to be very careful with making those types of decisions.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't think the public is, I mean, from me moving back here just a couple years ago, when I first walked in here, the attitude when you drive through town is no one gives a shit. You know, that's just the way those properties are gonna look, and no one here in the government is given a rat's patootie about it. And I mean, there's some houses that have been flooded since I first met my wife in 1997. They look exactly the same. There's animals only living there, you know, and I mean, you're right. If, you know, we want to get the public out and say, is this something that is important to you? But I sure as heck don't want to live next to someone who's got, you know, garment living underneath the underside of their house.
I mean, look,
You know?
if the city wants to truly address some of these structures, the tools are there.
What are the tools?
These are the tools.
Okay, we're talking about plan and zoning, obviously go that direction.
Well, that's the cheap, easy
Let's
way,
go with that direction, let's go with that direction.
but it ultimately, like you kept saying, if they have to actually go to court and win, which is,
Well,
you're
let's go.
assuming they win. You know,
Oh, I'm not saying they will.
you know, like if you show them a picture of the building like you showed up there, and they're gonna say, it's perfectly okay.
Here's the way it would work. Lawsuits filed, go and ask the court, hey, court, grant us permission to go inspect this property. The inspector court says, okay, you can go do it. Inspector goes and looks at the property, inspector provides a report or engineer does, that says that home is dangerous, it is substandard, it is beyond repair, it must be torn down. At that point, they have to then come up with credible evidence contrary to refute that report, which is going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult, because if we only actually make an issue of structures that are truly deteriorated to the point of being dangerous, there's not going to be an engineer that's going to come in and say, oh yeah, this is safe. I mean, if the roof's off and walls are falling in and things are crumbling, that.
I don't know,
If we have 15 homes, and do we need to file, we're gonna have to file 15 lawsuits,
That's right.
right?
Well,
Well, 20 homes, it's 20 lawsuits.
But-
So, that's the practical difficulty of cities not taking action. Well, if you want to have true effective action, file 20 lawsuits.
Well,
That's, from a city administrator's standpoint, I'd rather take the paper tiger and see what you can get.
Well, that's what you're saying here. This it says that the burden of proof goes on the homeowner, the way the P and Z reads, the way the P and Z
For that process.
for that process. That doesn't mean they can't hire an attorney and go the route that you're talking about, but the default burden is not on the city at this point. It becomes the default burden, the way it's written, is on the homeowner saying, hey, dude, we drove by your house. It's been a long time. You need to, you know, this house we think is not livable. They would then have to come and say, yes, it is. It just looks like crap on the outside, needs a paint job. And the burden becomes on the homeowner. You know, they have to go and say, with reason, to say that the house is not having varmints in it, or what are the criteria that we're using for that particular
Well, then
situation.
you have to define livable, because.
Well, the
Chief was
structure,
telling me about a structure where they didn't have a roof and they're living in it.
well, that's
It's an unsafe building.
it's unsafe building. It's an unsafe building.
But then like, okay, I've heard all this, so unsafe building, somebody's living in it, but that's the only option they have. You live in a nice house. Probably everybody in this room lives in a nice house. And, you know, you're just looking outside the window or driving by and, you know, like I said, you're pointing and you have 4 fingers coming back at you. You know, so if they have a roof and we're opening up our city council in prayer, why are we not as a city like saying, hey, like, do you need some resources? Like, let us put you in touch with the county. Let's do whatever.
Fundraising. Why
You
are we
know,
all out there helping them fix it?
The discussion, I think what gets out, the discussion starts with the process.
Yes.
So if there is a situation that you're alluding to.
Well,
someone
she
is
just,
living-
yeah, she
someone-
just.
I understand, then that person maybe doesn't know what other options are available to them.
But I
we've
think
been-
we as a
we've been
city-
talking to them. We've been going around, we've identified these houses. We have on this code enforcement identified these houses. We've been going around and talking to the people. I can show you 5 right now.
But let me tell you what, from talking to a citizen, their picture is not there. They have a dilapidated house on their property. It's a grandmother on Social Security who was taking care of 7 of her grandkids while her daughter was in prison, while her husband was sick and in the hospital, while CPS is involved in doing, so there's a lot more stuff that's going on. You know, whenever you're getting to know your citizen and your constituent, it's by having those conversations. So there's a lot more to the story than what's going on, so.
And what about the exact opposite of what you're describing? There are structures in this town that people make a lot of money off of because they're dilapidated and they can use that to their advantage. And there's a building in town that the owner makes a fair amount of money off of that has a giant hole in the roof. And so is that person gonna be required to
My thought is
change theirs?
On the building you're talking about, some of the buildings you're talking about like that, is it really dilapidated or is it made to look like that?
It's really dilapidated if there's a hole in the roof.
But they made it to look like that due to the movie industry or whatever. They were using that for a movie set. Is it, if an engineer went there and said, hey, is this really structurally sound?
Has anyone done that? Do we know that?
Which is still, it goes back to, it doesn't have to fall into a scenario of this or that. You're not keeping up with the International Property Maintenance Code. If it's missing its sidings, it's missing a hole in the roof.
Yeah,
Our
town is not a movie set.
You're a public nuisance, is basically what this says. You're a public nuisance, stop it. And so that's what the planning and zoning hearing process is for, saying, hey, you look like a nuisance, stop it. Hopefully, people are spurred to action from it. Not all of them will be.
Jared, I would like to add though, also, like, if it is a public nuisance and there's something going on in our town, I think that council is real comfortable about going and talking to people about, you've
Some
got this
cases,
going on.
in
You've got,
some cases,
so there's a
more
lot
so
of-
than that's allowed, that's
so then
allowable.
there's some busybodies that do like to do that, but I think we need to let the chief handle it. It needs to go the proper channels instead of us
Well,
going to those citizens directly and telling them anything.
yeah, I agree.
Yes.
That, as we went through the roles and responsibilities, nowhere on that, when we went through the codes that say city council members go on people's property and tell them that
I
they're
get
doing
all
it.
these complaints, if people would fill them out, if they see stuff on the weekends, fill them out and submit the complaint. There's an online complaint reporting form. I get those, fill them out and submit them. I don't see any from the weekend.
Is there actually a scenario in town where there is a family occupying, more than one, I should say, a structure where there is the belief that it is truly
Yes.
dilapidated?
Yes.
But they are living there because that is their only option.
Yes.
Okay, how many?
I would defer to.
Less than 5, okay, but there are statements of unoccupied as far as we believe.
15 or more.
Yes.
Okay, I mean.
Those are what
I
we're
mean,
talking about.
There's a human aspect to everything that we do, and I'm very keenly aware of that in my profession, but goodness gracious, calling people in here to have a public hearing when they are, people don't choose to live life in a dilapidated
No, we don't
structure.
do
And so,
that.
I just, there's got to be a different way to handle that, but if there's unoccupied structures in the floodway.
There you go.
There's, or if there's unoccupied structures that are falling down. I don't have a problem addressing that in more of a public way, but man alive, I mean, you talk about a humiliating endeavor.
Here's five that, we've addressed and we're gonna start addressing and probably file receipts on.
Yeah, I mean, and look, to Jared's point, in any lawsuit, there's something called discovery. And that's the process where you try and learn about the underlying facts. If we hold public hearings before planning and zoning for these unoccupied structures to address it, it's a good opportunity to potentially learn something. To have people say, I mean, look, you don't live there. This is creating a danger. Why are you doing this? So what is it that can be done? You get some information that could be helpful in moving forward. But ultimately, just know that if the city sees some of these structures that are a danger, our only real remedy to make that happen is to do it.
Right.
I think we just said, let's go to plan and zoning, pay for time or whatever, just go educate, have the hearing. Because it worked out right across the street, that 2-story worked out perfect.
Well, that was not the planning and zoning process. That was the process that.
That worked out.
We just
perfect.
jumped straight to the district court.
But that worked out very well.
Well, this procedure is more, it takes longer, it allows the homeowner more time,
Yeah.
is what is my
Well,
understanding.
and we don't have to go to court necessarily to do it, right? So if we're going to file 15 to 20 lawsuits, I don't know how long that takes you, Kent, but probably not quick. And I'm not sure what kind of information you need in order to do it, because previously, when we had the engineer do the assessment, they weren't sufficient enough to substantiate a lawsuit. And we're going to have to go in and get some court permission to go and look at it further. And that process was grinding to a halt rather quickly.
What's an engineer cost us?
No, that's what I was gonna say. You're looking at 1,000 to 2,500 a report.
Yeah.
For the engineer. So, I mean, you say.
But aren't some of them really obvious if there's no roof?
So you still have to document it. You can't just say, Judge, look at the picture.
I mean, the engineer's gonna have to come out and look at it and write a report, and there's $1,000 for low hanging fruit. And if it's more complicated, 2,500, $3,000 for a report. I mean,
you got something that hadn't been lived in 20 years. And the thing's falling down. That's.
If you want to address it, start with the lowest hanging fruit.
And that's what, you're saying. Right?
Go with the lowest.
Okay, how about we do this?
Even then, we got the engineer reports.
Let's do
They
that.
weren't
Why don't
sufficient.
y'all three, can y'all three get together? And come up with a plan.
You already had it.
So this,
Do that.
so this was the reason why I want to bring this up. It's a tool available to the Planning and Zoning Commission, whether y'all choose to use it or not. It is a tool. So when you hear people who say nothing's being done, well, in the background, myself, Bud, for the last 2+ years, have been working on this issue. Haven't gotten all that far. If you want to see public calls to action, this is a method to do.
What do you suggest?
Both.
But like what
I
I
mean,
would,
I think call some people on the carpet, especially where they have opportunities for FEMA buyouts, and they just plain won't do it, and they don't care, and and it's not an issue of resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not an issue.
Sounds like a good plan.
so
These are not people living in.
get it, yeah. You know, have a public hearing on them, yeah.
Have a public hearing, do a little discovery. After that, regroup, see where we're going from there.
and I think what I'm also hearing you say is to be more active in planning and zoning and utilize these resources to be able to address these issues in a more proactive manner.
It's a more visual way of trying to spur action within the community. Instead of having sniper shots on one building every once in a while, this is OS, city council serious, and they're taking action on it, and I don't want to be called in the next hearing on it, on the matter.
So public humiliation.
Spur to action.
How did the two,
Tomato, tomato.
the two properties that were across from Allen Bates that got, when Lee was here?
Yeah.
They got demolished. How did that happen? That the homeowner paid for that, or?
Yeah, the property owner did that himself. And I believe he became a new property owner through, I think, some sort of familiar transfer within the family. transfer
Yeah.
of- of-
Yeah.
So he became the new sole owner or whatever and said, I want to go ahead and take care of this. But there's some just a few yards away where
Yeah.
there's no floors.
Yeah,
windows
Steve
are
over
boarded
here.
up,
When
and
demolished.
there's
Mhm.
nothing in it but like cats and vermin that
Yeah.
that are occupying, so.
Oh, is Gary?
Yeah.
Job Corps helping us on the 20th?
Yes.
You know, they do quite a bit of communal work too, and it's super cheap. Something that we could look in as a city to help these dilapidated homes, maybe siding, maybe they even do concrete work, you know, stuff like that would
So
probably.
yeah, that's a program that the city wants to, if it wants to take that on. You still have the problem of who's paying for it.
Well, I think.
You don't want, if you have people who truly want to help and they ask for the help, great. But if they're just like, not my problem, it's my grandfather's property and I'm not going to do anything to it and he doesn't want to do anything to it and I want to put my RV next to the river.
Case by case.
I think some of the people, I hear what you're saying, there's also fraternities and sororities that'll come in with their skid steers and do stuff like that, right? But some people are proud.
Yeah.
And it's tough to talk to them and tell them, hey, your stuff sucks.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
again, case
but
by
they're
case,
proud,
but
right.
you probably go knock on the door and I'm sure that.
Yeah, you try to do it nice. I mean, there's no.
Most of these, a lot of these are not going to be locally owned properties, or if they are locally owned properties, they have some messed up title or multiple joint owners because it's been family passed down in multiple generations.
You gotta be very careful if you ever get to a structure being torn down, because there's two ways. The city is given the right to do that, and if the city does it, then it's gonna have to bid the job out. Okay, unless there is an owner that says, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then that's, you know.
Is it possible that we can have volunteers and then we get a dumpster, the city provides the dumpster?
Sure. I know when we do citywide
Yeah.
cleanups, one of the difficult matters is ARCon. For whatever reason, I was still trying to figure it out. Why TDS is so restrictive on what's going in those dumpsters is a problem. So can you take an entire house in a dumpster?
Or can we take it to the dump?
They don't live here.
Can we take it to can we take it to 130?
They don't live here.
Okay.
Can we take this stuff to 130? Because I've taken stuff there. We can go once a week. Everyone can take as much as they want, pretty much, once a week to the dump in Lockhart.
I think as much as we pay TDF, when we get into the contractual part of it, we could put that in our contract. We would like to have that service available for.
Yeah.
Well, I know their bulk pickup is a joke. It's a joke. It's nothing. The first time I did a bulk pickup, they came in and picked up half of it and said, that's way too much. Man, when I was at Vegas bulk pickup, man, hell, I filled all the chairs full of stuff and they picked it up and they had a great old time dumping.
That's how Austin is.
Yeah, that's what you got once a year, bulk. You know, they took mattresses, they took everything.
That's something
TDS would not take
We
it.
always want our business. I mean, we got a multi-year contract. but-
Probably a good segue as we get to bulk pickup issues is, weed brush and the like. So, this includes brush, garbage, trash, stagnant water, trees, right? So, think about like something like this, right? The front yard of this property, as an example. So it is unlawful for an owner occupant to cause or permit weeds, rubbish, or brush to accumulate or remain on the lot. So the procedure to enforce this is a notice is given through the methods that we say. And then the city has an option if after 48 inches was like 4 feet, right?
Very
So-
bad.
We can correct it on our own and then try to still the people.
Hey,
But even then, we're required to give notice of the correction within 10 days and have a hearing within another 30 days. So unless it's really, 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 really bad, the city just can't go in and do something. We have to follow the notice of violation and then here's. I'll stop there. Basically, I think it's, what is it, first anniversary? Today, there's a significant amount of time that's delayed.
Jerry,
Between those, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, since the city has some properties around town, and I never see that they're being maintained on the budget, who's cutting the city properties?
We're paying for it.
Yeah.
It's under property maintenance.
So is it, how many properties have to be done?
5, I believe. And there are some areas that
We
are,
have more than 5 though, right?
there's some areas that
Yeah.
are, natural land, green land, open space, so we don't maintain those. Like, there's some old FEMA buyout land that we don't maintain, and it's just wild.
Mhm.
Most of it, we mow, especially if it's in the neighborhood. Only areas where we don't mow, there's some properties over phase 1. We mow several of them, but not all of them, over there, so.
Yeah, the Texas Park Wildlife said, don't mow it.
There's some city properties on Southeast Road, right next to the gravel pit that I don't even know if the city even acknowledges that they even own those. Those have never been cut. And I think we need to get the list and update it and really see because we haven't maintained them for so long, they have become wild. And you look at a mowed lot right here, and then you look at the city lot right beside it, and it's never been touched. Never been touched.
Bastard.
And there's, and as I said, there's debris on the phase property of the triangle that has been sitting there for 8 years, piles of debris. And so, yes, it's hard for us to inflict our ordinances when we don't even maintain a lot of the stuff that we have ourselves. I mean, it's like, when can we look at a list of all the properties and visually see those and see if they have been maintained or not?
On
I
the
mean,
CAD,
I'm about to show it to you and,
Yeah, hold the cat.
Uh-oh.
you can pull it up on the CAD for City of Martindale.
You just type in the city of Martindale, cat.
Yeah. But I guess we never see it because it's not itemized on the budget, whenever the budget report is.
by property.
No,
But generally, property maintenance has its own line, its own line.
Yeah. This is, no, it's included. I mean, I would just assume it's mowed. No.
Some of it's mowed, not all of it.
Yeah.
If it's in a neighborhood, it's getting mowed.
yeah.
Like their Fannin Street properties
Yeah.
get mowed and,
We were mowing just recently.
the Thompson,
The triangle.
Hobson Ranch,
is
pit
mowed.
gets mowed.
And see, but that gets mowed by the gentleman that lives over there in
We
that
pay him.
area. Yeah, it's like 300 a month.
No.
200.
200 a mowing.
200, and then what about the properties that are in town? Who does
Tom
those?
Fudge
Oh, he
usually
does
does those. And we just signed a contract, brand new, April 1st for the parks.
Oh, yeah, I was there for that.
Me too.
Yeah. That was a good thing, right?
So.
Unanimous.
All right, eventually runs into a notice of a lien or abatement hearing. The main point of this is the lot owner can request a hearing if they want to, or we have to give them notice and then hope that they correct it within 10 days. That's as far as it goes. If it gets really bad, the city can go in and do it ourselves. We've gotten close to doing that a couple of times. But after repeated tips to make contact with the property owners, they've had it remediated. This also covers trash, right? Even though this might be an area where we might update the code to more clearly call out the issue of rubbish, trash. I know that's something that comes up with the chief. This is written more for weeds and stuff, given heights. We don't really have a automatic enforcement when it comes to a trash situation, rubbish situation, but that's inclusive in this one. Roadside maintenance, unless there's questions on it, we can skip it for now. But basically, if you're a property owner and you have a tree on your side of the fence or your property and it's hanging over, you have to keep the canopy elevated so that trucks up to 14 feet can pass under. Or if branches sticking out from the side, you got to keep it 6 feet back from the roadway. Junk and nuisance vehicles, we made a lot of, this is one that James and the police have made a lot of progress on.
Oh, great.
And that's also a slow moving enforcement mechanism where you provide notice, they have so many days, and then things happen after that point, but it's several months. Includes a hearing in municipal court, disposal, yada, yada, yada. So, that takes us back through, I believe that covers, noise is the only other one, where noise regulations, and we've talked about this in the context of the city park and things, where noise coming out of I think we might have updated this code. I'm not sure if it got codified yet, 55 decibels. I'm not sure if it's gotten codified yet.
But only in the parks.
Maybe that's what the difference was. 65, it's a park ordinance where it says 65. Here, it's really just any loud amplified vehicle or amplified sound, unreasonable
Can it be in a
noise.
house?
Yeah. So as long as it's unreasonably loud, disturbing, and unnecessary. Now, that gives a lot, it's not really well defined, and so it's going to be up to the officer responding on scene to make that determination. What an officer considers citable and what the property owner might think unreasonable might, could have disagreements, but it's based on a reasonableness standard, right? So.
That's what the code says in state law, it gives a decibel reading of 85. And so that's a measurable tool, so it's easier to have a measurable tool than something that's arbitrary like that, that's unreasonable. It can be unreasonable to you, a chicken crowing or a rooster crowing could be, unreasonable.
We do have an ordinance that talks about prolonged dog barking, but it's not like the dog barked a little bit to get inside the house, it's like all night long type of a thing, so.
Do we have anything for the noise for backpack blowers?
No.
Backpacks?
No.
Where is that?
The leaf blowers.
Oh,
Back.
Get your decimal reader on your app, on your phone, and you can record that.
And then it goes over.
So that's chapter 91. I know some of the other things that come up are related to planning and zoning. Like,
Oh, man.
You have no one
is
here.
there any other questions
You know
or
what? I need to put a bell in.
from council on public nuisance, or we want to go ahead and wrap this up?
I'd say wrap it up. I mean, I would like that, just let's go with the paper tiger. Plan and zoning, do it softly and, have a plan and zoning and deal with it there. Let these three gentlemen talk out strategy in there. It's not like they're doing it. And, just do it. We're making progress, right? I mean, you're getting rid of junk cars and, things are getting done. It's just a slow process.
So I can let my weeds grow to 4 feet tall. That's
That's
good.
what I'm saying.
Some people do.
You get a free,
Lose man death in there.
then you get a lien on your property from the city coming cutting it for a few $100s.
I do think it's good though to have slow progress when you're, anytime you're talking about taking someone's personal property, whether you agree with how it looks or you don't agree how
Yeah.
it looks, it should be slow. It shouldn't be something, we should have to deliberate about it because it's somebody's property and I don't want to live in a place where that's taken lightly, where like other people get to decide.
Now, we haven't taken anybody's property. have we?
Well, and what I found through talking with code enforcement, whether it was Lee or now with James and the chief, people comply. If you go talk to them and you work with them, sometimes they can't, like the house you're talking about, if they just can't afford it.
Right.
But a lot of times, if it's just a car, or whatever, they'll comply. So
We're making progress.
we are,
That's good.
yeah.
I said, if you get broke overnight, can't fix it overnight.
Well, like my previous statement, we didn't have a code enforcement for 7 years.
Okay,
All right.
can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn at
I will second.
8:46.
I will second that.
And we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.